Oh, you didn't hear the song.
I didn't hear the song.
Well, it's a little
Hold on, I'm
strummy
gonna hold on.
country diddle. I think we're live, right? Excellent. Hello, everyone. If you're like me, you have looked forward to tonight for about 2 weeks now. Ever since I learned that there was an individual that did not believe viruses were a thing, I was excited to have this conversation. So I am happy to be introducing Joe. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hello, pretty good. I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Jimmy.
Excellent. And Casey, I'm going to let you introduce our resident.
Oh, our other guest is Dr. Peachy Keen. She is an immunologist. She is a PhD, and she knows all about the whole virus thing. So she's here to talk with us and Joe about viruses.
Well, I am stoked for this. We are going to get to Dick News here in just a second. But first, as always, we'll run through what we've got coming up for the week on the show. First, Casey, anything Casey and GE wise coming up that you want to put out there?
Oh, well, tomorrow, since the last time we were on, we talked about doing the peanut butter drive last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We raised almost $1,000.
Whoa.
And yes, and we have sitting in our dining room right now, on the table, under the table, beside the table, 320 jars of peanut butter that is going to orphans in Haiti. So we're dropping that off tomorrow to the organizers. And it went amazingly well. I was surprised at the outpouring of support we got for it. And we got a really great deal from Publix, and they helped us get as many jars as we could, and they kept getting shipments in so we could get more. So
that's amazing.
I know, right? It is a lot of peanut butter. If you want to see pictures of 320 jars of peanut butter, go to my Twitter, GE_Caitlin, KAITLYN.
I just wish you would have gotten pulled over or something so that the police could walk to your car and see that many containers of peanut butter.
Well, the most we've had in the car at once is 84. But we have a truck. We're going to go pick up tomorrow after work to deliver it all because it won't fit in my car.
That's excellent.
I wonder how many people were annoyed that you cleaned out all the peanut butter.
Well, so I didn't clean it out all at once. I shopped for peanut butter over 5 days. I started on Friday and just bought the last of it yesterday. And I went to 7 different public stores in the area, and I would get whatever they could give me without buying them out. So basically all I've done for the last 5 days is study for an exam, take an exam, and buy peanut butter.
Whoa, that is courtesy on another level. I would have been like, I'm taking all of your peanut butter. Get over it.
Yeah. Well, they had a 10 jar limit. And so whenever they would give me more than that, I was just happy to get more. That's all.
There's a limit?
Yeah.
Well, because it was buy one, get one free. So it was a sale. Oh. That's why we got such a good deal, because they're 40-ounce jars of peanut butter. They're normally almost $7 a jar, and we got them for $3.50 a piece.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, good for you guys. I think that's fantastic that y'all doing that, and it was that successful. So
yeah, congrats. And we're going to be doing it again next year, but we'll have a better plan.
Story of my life. That's my motto. Yeah. Have a better plan. So let's on your screen just a second. We'll be popping up. There we go. Tomorrow, should drugs be decriminalized? That's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern. Join us for that. On Friday, candidate for the Libertarian Party, Adam Kokesh. He's running for president, and he has some very strong opinions on liberty, your rights, and taxation. So join us for that also at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll try to run through these quick. Dr. Griffith, who is probably our biggest fan favorite now. People just love her. Her husband is going to be joining us Monday, and he's going to be talking about, he recently did a documentary on how the King James Bible became the King James Bible. So he's going to be telling that story at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's Monday the 6th. Tuesday is Prophet of Zod and Modern Day Hysteria. That's going to be a good talk. Everybody loves Prophet of Zod.
I love Prophet of Zod. I met him in real life in April, and he's amazing.
Yes, such a handsome man. I can't figure out why he statics his face
He is very good looking. Well, he teaches, the reason he statics his face is because he is a principal at a Christian school, believe it or not.
Stop it.
Yes.
I'm going to need a second. Hold on. I'm going to need a second to process this. Are you kidding me?
No.
That's actually more surprising than I was when I learned Vice Rhino was actually no, like what do you call that? It's a
person.
What do they call that when it's the same letters for the word for Eric Coven? An anagram for it's an anagram for Eric Coven. Yeah,
Eric Coven. Yeah.
Oh.
So wow. Okay. I was just gonna say I understand it now, but there are plenty of other people that could use that static face more so than he could.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good looking guy.
All right. Then on Wednesday, Emperor Atheist and Nate Brody, aka Multiple Personalities, will be joining us. They're kicking off a new show coming up soon that is going to center around the experiences that people in the African American community have being atheist. I think it's pretty well agreed. You know, everybody agrees that African American families are usually more so religious than most. So I wanted to kind of find out the elements that go into being Black and having to, you know, essentially come out to that environment when, you know, it's gospel, especially in the South, because, you know, the one of my best friends when I was younger, I went to he took me to his church, and it was an African American church, and that was the funnest time I've ever had in my life. Like it's just so, you know, lively and stuff. So I can imagine how difficult that's got to be to face that when you come out as an atheist. So I wanted to put together a show where we talk about that, and that's going to be Wednesday at 8 also. And then Bunty King back here for Ideology next week. Bunty King and Vadim Newquist.
Yes.
And that's going to be something else, and I'm excited to watch it. Aren't you, Casey?
I am thrilled for this show. I will be honest with you. I like the both of them. I know Vadim a whole lot better than Bunty, but yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm glad we got it to work out and got the schedules together and everything so we could do it.
And Bunty's been on here before, and he was fabulous. He was hilarious.
Yeah, he loves you guys. When I contacted him about it, he was like, hell yeah, I'll do it.
Awesome. Well, that's going to be good. And then finally, there was a secret order long time ago that buried fossils. Now, Joe, this is their theory, that buried fossils so that we could find them eventually and kind of cause confusion. So we talked before the show. Joe is actually going to be joining us for this discussion as well. That's going to be Tuesday, April the 14th. Christians Against Dinosaurs kind of take a different angle on it than Joe does, but I think it'll be good to have those kind of different views. So join us for those, won't you? And I believe that's it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to turn it over to my lovely co-host as we go into DNN and make up for last week.
Yes. Wait. Oh, yes. The Dick News Network.
Yes.
Yes. So today we have your daily source of Dick News. I am Poppy Hardon, and my co-host is
Fucker Carlson.
Fucker Carlson. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about a guy. He was a security guard, and he accidentally suffocated himself in an autoerotic accident. He was Ralph Santiago, 31, was found dead in the men's toilets of the building he worked at, wearing Wellington boots, a wetsuit, and a gas mask. Yeah.
Oh, man. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. No, I can't even imagine finding that and being like, what the fuck happened here? Further rubber and latex outfits were found in his car and in the ladies' toilets of his workplace.
Why do you need more than one rubber suit? Like one rubber suit seems excessive as it is, but Why do you need several stashed around your workplace?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know why you need to work like a wetsuit in the men's toilets, a wetsuit in the women's toilet, and one in your car. Like, I guess there's just one wherever you go.
There's more to the story.
I don't know, but let's see. The evening before he died, he printed off information from the internet explaining how inhaling poppers via a gas mask can cause arousal. So he tried it.
Okay. All right. I mean,
having
I can kind of see that
on a sub gas mask level, like from the little tiny jar that you get from the little shops, where you buy little toys. Yes, I'm a bad boy.
David.
Well, this is Dick News Network, so we need to be frank here, and not be frank as in a literal Frank. But anyway, anyway. But
he's on point tonight. He's on point tonight.
On the scale of using a gas mask is probably not recommended or healthy, for that matter.
No, probably not. He had a girlfriend, believe it or not.
Shocking.
Who explained that he did have fetishes of which she did not take part.
Right.
Yeah. So
come on.
He was prone to dressing up. And toxology tests showed that he had some alcohol in his system. When they did the autopsy, his lungs were filled with blood, and he died of cardiorespiratory
That's what I would expect, because it is pretty much a solvent.
Yeah. That's a bad way to go too.
So Ralph Santiago, you've been on Dick News Network.
Congrats.
Yes.
All right, cue that awesome exit outro.
Oh, we have outro. We have an outro?
No, I was just dreaming.
Oh, okay.
I'm just panicking, Dave. So let me kind of walk you guys back about 2 weeks. Joe had contacted me on Messenger, and originally he was going to have we were setting up a debate, and still are going to do this, but he and a gentleman named Jimmy were setting up Jimmy. That's right, isn't it, Joe?
Yep. Hi, Jimmy.
So Joe sent me a message and said, the guy that I want to debate, his name is Jimmy. We want to debate on evolution. Now, what was interesting from the get-go was that Joe is an atheist, and Joe wanted to debate against evolution, which is something that you don't normally see. That's something that's just outside the norm. So I asked him a question on it, and he answered it, and he followed up the answer with, I also don't believe in viruses either. So there was where all my attention went instantly, and evolution was outside of my mind. All that stuff was gone. All I focused on was, you don't believe viruses existed. So I had to bring him on here so that we could find out why he doesn't believe viruses exist. And we have somewhat of an expert also that hopefully definitely can answer his questions a lot better than I can. I can't speak for KC, but how is your viruses, KC?
How is what?
Your viruses.
I don't even know what that is.
Like legalese with
your virus
language. So the research I did in regards to viruses was get Peachy.
Excellent. Excellent. So I figured the best way to do this is we'll let you guys kind of take a minute to introduce yourselves, talk about what you do, what you like to do. If you've got a channel, put it out there, and then Joe will let you build your case for why you don't think viruses are a thing. So Peachy Keen, do you want to start and just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am a research immunologist, technically. I work in the immune system. So I'm currently working on looking at how aging affects the early immune cells. But to get there, I've gotten 3 degrees where I've been doing research, and all of them have a microbiology component to it. So I'm not just on the immunology side. So during the PhD process, it's technically a degree in microbiology and immunology. So I've gone through a lot of classes having to do with viruses. I work with viruses in the lab, and I don't have a channel. I have a Twitter. And yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Okay.
I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to know.
No, that's perfect. Did you want to put your Twitter out there so people can follow you?
Oh, it's on the Casey linked it. She did it on the Twitter thing.
She's so good. She's so good.
I know, right?
All right. The man of the hour, Joe, introduce yourself, and then I guess kind of go right on into it about why you don't think viruses exist.
Right on. I'm Joe. I have a YouTube channel, Virtual Maya. That's where I post all my ideas and stuff. And if I find that I'm wrong on an idea, or to get some Dunning-Kruger syndrome, I take it down. I don't leave it up there. So everything that's up there is pretty much what I've rigorously tested, which is why I'm here tonight, because if viruses are shown to be real, I'll take the video down. I'm making a negative claim. So in a sense, I'm a virus, like atheist. You get it? A virus, atheist.
Well done.
So I'm not providing any too much evidence against it. I'm questioning the evidence at hand. So the burden of proof isn't on me, actually. And the reason why I've come up to this conclusion is because, well, I don't believe in evolution at all. I could talk about any topic there, any evidence for that. But ERVs, indigenous retroviruses, I don't think they exist. And I kind of had warts on my foot. So I want to ask her, what's her name, Michelle?
Michelle, yeah.
Does fungicides work on viruses?
Do fungicides work on viruses?
Yes. Or do
they
you have to?
Shouldn't. No.
Well,
I haven't actually put any fungicides on viruses, but
well, if viruses are real, and viruses are real, and plantar's warts are from viruses, I'll tell you, if you want your plantar's wart to go away, put some athlete's foot medication on it. It makes them go away. I've had plenty of warts, and that's my side.
So your evidence is anecdotal.
Yes, but I want more people to do it so I could see it empirically shown. Anecdotal evidence is still evidence. It's just not as strong as empirical evidence, but it's still evidence.
It's not data. It's not controlled.
And anecdotal evidence is data.
It is not data. It's not controlled. You can't say that the only thing that could have caused the warts to go away is that you put athlete's foot medication on it.
So if I could get more people to do it and they could confirm it, it would be empirical, right?
It would need to be in a controlled setting where the only thing that could control it, could make the warts go away, is what you are doing to it. Yeah, you're putting athlete's foot medication onto the warts. That in no way turns off your immune system. So your immune system is also working. So you can't say that the only thing that is doing anything in that situation is the medication. So that's the problem. It's not controlled.
Yeah. So a lot of evidence, science uses a lot of evidence to base their theories off of. And I would say that if it was controlled, it should be tried. Somebody should try it. Like maybe you should try it at work sometime and get back to me or something. Let me know. So this is what led me to it.
Well, here's the problem. I have a specific set of experiments that I work on because that's what I'm funded to work on. I can't just do experiments because somebody on the internet says I should do that and get back to you about it. I have to have a legitimate reason to be able to say, I think this is a viable hypothesis, give me money to do it, because that is a study that would be on human people. So I would have to recruit them in, I'd have to consent them into the study, and I would have to have control people. I'd have to have the test subjects. I would have to have a power analysis for the number of people that I would need to use. It's a very involved thing. So, and just saying that you have an anecdotal, you put something on your foot and your warts went away is not evidence.
That's just the beginning, but it's 50-50. Either it did or didn't.
Well,
right? I don't know that I would say it's even 50-50.
You see what you're saying, right, Joe? That it could be a combination of several different things because you weren't in a controlled environment. So there could have been other factors going into what eventually healed those warts up. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't be able to just pinpoint that is the.
Well, you wouldn't know. I'm not saying it's rigorous by any means, but on a personal level, here I am. I've had these warts all my childhood, and one day I get athlete's foot, and I put and I gotta get rid of the athlete's foot. I never even heard of athlete's foot fungus medication before. I put it on, and all my warts went away. And what am I supposed to think? Am I supposed to think my immune system did it? I mean, I'm not.
I would actually think that my immune system did it because you have a fungal infection. You are bringing immune cells to the area, especially when you add in the athlete's foot medication, which helps in the immune process. So you're bringing cells into that area. They're not only going to be going after this one thing. They're going to go after anything that shouldn't be there.
All right. Well, that sounds like a good explanation. Maybe my body was already triggered to go down there from the fungal infection. All right, got it.
It could be, and it would be the same thing. I think is if you said you have a migraine and you took ibuprofen and your headache went away. It doesn't mean that caffeine wouldn't have done the same thing. NSAIDs would have done the same thing. So I don't think that by that one anecdote alone, you would be able to rule out viruses as a whole. Do you?
No, not necessarily. But to add to that, there's two kinds of warts, right? There's a kind that go underneath the skin like this, like a hole, right? It pushes a fingerprint back, and then there's the bumps, right? The one I'm going to talk about in the past when I was a childhood was the whole one. Recently, I've had a bump one on top of my foot with no fungus, and I put it on there and it went away too. So for anybody who has warts out there, try that and get back to me. Virtual Maya. So we can move on to another.
So I have a follow-up question here. So do you think that foot fungus cream will work on any virus? Like if you get...
I don't think viruses exist. So I think
he thinks the fungus is causing the warts, but okay. So how long from when you put the medication on did the wart go away?
Quickly, within 2 weeks. Quickly.
That's quickly to you?
Yeah, it's quick.
That is 2 weeks. You've had from the time that a wart appears. In 2 weeks, you've had a complete adaptive immune response to that. So
no, I had the wart all my life. It went away when I was like 17. So I probably had it maybe around 8 and had it until 17. And then I put athlete's foot medication on it and it went away. And then recently,
17.
And last year, or at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I had another wart on the top of my foot, a different kind, and it went away.
So what do you think causes illnesses?
Bacteria, parasites, fungus, malnutrition. Let's see. Do I have any listing here?
What about like the common cold?
I think that's a bacterial infection.
Well, I tell you what. Let's start here.
Antibiotics don't work on it,
so that we don't get so that everybody's on the same page. Peachy, can you kind of speak to what the difference between like a bacterial infection and a viral infection is before we get into this?
Yeah, what are the different symptoms for each?
Like, yeah.
Well, so I mean, it depends on what kind of infection you get, because like you're not going to have the same symptoms for a bacterial infection that's a lung infection versus a gastrointestinal infection. So the symptoms are going to be specific to the pathogen that is causing the illness. But I mean, you're still going in, it doesn't matter where the infection is coming from, you're still going to have your immune system respond to it. You're going to have inflammation. Now, the difference in the kind of inflammation has to do with the kind of infection that you have. So intracellular pathogens, specifically viruses, will induce an interferon response, specifically interferon alpha and beta. These are the responses that are the problems in lupus, and they cause kind of different cell responses than you would get from the typical cytokines that you would get from a bacterial response. So it activates different kinds of responses in your B cells and your T cells. It induces the production of different classes of antibodies. Some can turn on cytotoxic T cells, some will turn on. It all depends on what kind of infection you're looking at and what it's doing to the cells themselves.
But there's a stark difference between the two, right? I think that's
where are the difference? Yeah.
The big difference is that, except for obligate intracellular bacteria or protozoans, viruses are all intracellular. They will all induce intracellular responses that typically will require activation of cytotoxic T cells and natural killer cells that will find these cells that are infected and kill them.
Okay, so Joe, now that she's explained how there's a stark difference between the responses you get from viral and bacterial, what would you say is the cause of what we think of as the viral response?
So she's saying that viruses respond, our body responds to viruses like this, and then our body responds to bacteria like that.
Yeah, they're two different responses.
So
different responses.
You're saying there's no way in hell. You're saying that there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell that a bacteria or some other kind of infection could cause your body to react like that. Because you could put that in a textbook very easy, and they can learn it. But is it really true, though? Has it been tested rigorously, or is that just the dogma of the medical community that says, hey, this is how it is?
The response that you have in your cells to viruses, by and large, is specifically to the kind of genome that virus has.
But
and we have different. They do have genomes, but bacteria all have double-stranded DNA genomes that are specific for, like, we have specific receptors that find double-stranded DNA that is specifically what you would find in a bacteria. But if we're only going to be responding to the kind of genome that a bacteria has, there's no reason that we would have receptors that can see single-stranded DNA that is not like we use, single-stranded RNA that is not like we use, double-stranded RNA that is not the same kind of RNA that we use. Like, there are receptors that find non-eukaryotic nucleic strands that are not what you're going to find in a bacteria.
So you're saying that we could take a sick person and get a sample and we could find a single-strand RNA in there and conclude that's a virus.
Well, that's how we test for certain viruses. We look for their genomes.
Oh, couldn't you just like, I mean, couldn't that be like finding something else? Like, how do you know that it's a virus and not something else? Why wouldn't you test for viruses by looking them under a microscope, electron microscope?
Well, so you can look under an electron microscope. We have pictures of viruses. CGI. I watched your video. You don't believe that you want what I understand is for you to believe that a virus is real, you want to see a live microscopic video of the virus attaching to the surface of the cell, injecting or being endocytosed or whatever path that particular virus has, doing its thing inside the cell and then bursting out. The problem is,
yeah, they don't have problem.
We can't do that. We are physically beyond that is physically beyond the capabilities that we have right now. The average a virus, the size of a virus is much smaller than we can get down to on a microscope in the way we would need to be able to do that.
Well, some viruses are big enough. Not all viruses are that small.
The biggest virus is going to be 200 nanometers. And we can't see below that. So we could maybe see, it's the limit of what we can see is 200 nanometers. You're not going to be able to see a virus doing anything.
All right.
When that is the limit of where we're at.
All right,
the biggest virus is the size of the limit. You can't see it doing anything.
Joe, let me interject real quick and just ask a question that I know people are going to be asking to tail end on that. So, Dr. Keen.
Yes.
How? I love that name, Peachy Keen. How do they know that's the process if they can't get that small?
Theory.
Part of how we've done the tracking on the process of the viral path has to do with when the virus is replicating, we can put fluorescent labels into the genome when it's developing. We can put labels that will be on the capsids, on the protein part of it. There are integrative things that can go into the envelope if there's an envelope in that particular virus. And then we can follow just based on the fluorescence. So we can look for the fluorescence. And so we can see how it goes in. And then we can have, if you're growing the virus in a cell, you can put in these chemicals that will integrate, and you can see the genome being made and then being packaged and exiting the cell.
Okay.
There are videos of this. There are like images of it. It's just all you're seeing is color in specific areas because you don't get fine detail that small.
Well, maybe I could find a link to that video. How do they farm these viruses since they're so deadly and they have to be controlled? And you can't farm them inside a human. How do they farm them? They farm them in eggs, right?
It depends on which virus you're looking for. Like I can grow a lentivirus in a cell line in the incubator. I do that all the time.
With like
there are some
cells,
viruses.
Right? Just like with regular cells, just like body parts.
Well, so we use cell lines, so they're immortalized cells. So like I can grow in, there's multiple cell types that you can grow viruses in. That's one of the ways that we when we're looking at trying to see what a specific protein is doing, that's how we can control the expression. We put in a plasmid that will specifically control that protein. So we engineer our own viruses for that.
They do vaccines though. They make vaccines in chicken eggs, right?
Flu vaccines, because that's the only way that we can make those.
Now, aren't those eggs pasteurized?
I don't make flu vaccines, so I don't know if they use pasteurized eggs or not. So I would guess that they probably don't.
I was really hoping for an answer because I was curious. Yeah, my idea was...
you could probably Google it.
Yeah.
I'm not that good.
But what different? What
Obvious.
what difference would that make, though, Joe, if they were pasteurized or not?
Because viruses require a living cell
Mm-hmm.
to be formed. And if eggs, what is it in an egg? Is there cells in eggs, or is it just like proteins and cholesterol and water and stuff?
Well,
the reason why I brought that up is because I actually don't know the
cell. An egg itself is a cell. It's just a massive cell.
Chromosomes.
The actual genomic part, like when you open an egg,
yeah,
you have all of the whites and then you have the yolk. If you look on the yolk, on the little film part on it, sometimes you can see a little bitty speck of white on the top of that. That is the actual genomic part of the egg.
So is that what they're using to make the flu vaccines? Okay, so moving on, I'd like to bring up the mechanism in which how viruses reproduce. I don't know if you want to talk about bacteriophages. We'll talk about bacteriophages. Bacteriophages are a unique looking virus. They got an isoscelohedron and a collar and a rib body and legs and a needle and all that stuff. What organelle in the bacteria is actually doing the assembling of this paper mache of this capsid?
Well, there are no organelles in bacteria. So organelles are a thing that is only for eukaryotic cells. So within a bacterial cell, everything is kind of just hanging out there. So a bacteriophage doesn't have to do anything. It just can hijack the stuff that's already there. The bacteria itself is going to have all of the equipment to replicate, to transcribe, translate everything. It's all there already. It just has to hijack it.
Yeah, well, we know it's all there. The problem is it's paper mache. How is this polymerase actually doing this assembling a paper mache of a capsid?
Well, so it's a bacteriophage injects its genome in. The reason we know that can work is because one of the things that bacteria actually use for gene transfer is they have plasmids, which are small rings of DNA. Yep. So the bacteria is already going to have a setup so that it can just like, oh, it's got a plasmid. It's got a new plasmid. I'm going to start replicating on this. All the genome of the bacteria or the virus has to do when it gets into a bacterial cell is to be in the vicinity of of whatever it is that it needs. If it's starting from an RNA or a DNA, it depends on the bacteriophage, what it is. It just has to be in the vicinity of the proteins that induce the start of transcribing and translating its genome.
So there's no specific, I would call them an organelle, but you say they're not in there. It's an enzyme, I would say. There's a specific enzyme that's putting together all these little proteins, all one by one. It knows how to do it. And the little legs.
It's the same way that a bacteria makes all of its own proteins. The bacteriophage is going to have.
Well, we can make proteins. We know that.
Hang on. A bacteriophage will have in its genome all of the genes that it needs to package itself up, including the proteins that are going to be needed to fold and form the capsid.
What does a folding and forming?
It's folding the protein that goes into the capsid. So when
magic.
How does a eukaryotic cell fold and form proteins?
The law of biogenesis. Life comes from life.
That is not the answer to how we make proteins.
Well, we make proteins all the time, but we don't make.
And so does a bacteria.
Yeah, they split.
A capsid is just made of protein.
No, it's not the same thing. Bacteria split. Bacteria was here, whatever put it here, and it just replicates.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how do you make protein? The process.
Yeah, we make proteins with ribosomes.
Right. So the ribosomes are already there.
Yep, we can make the proteins. The bacteria can make all the proteins for the bacteriophage. What assembles the proteins?
One of the proteins that is made that is it has
magic.
no.
Joe,
I'm sorry. I'm
do me
sorry.
a favor.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let her
Try not to
answer
talk
you.
over her. Yeah, because it gets jumbled and the audience can't hear either side. So let her finish. We promise we're going to give you all the time that you need to get your side out too, but just let her finish when she's talking, please.
There are various. So there's early phase and late phase for viruses proteins that go through. So it makes the first protein that is needed to assemble the capsid. And then it makes the capsid proteins. And then the capsid is assembled with the genome inside of it that has been replicated using all of the machinery of the bacteria. The proteins themselves, the same things that the bacteria uses to make all of its proteins and replicate its genome.
Ribosomes
It's
and polymerase.
hijacking. It's both. You're going to have polymerase to replicate the genome. You're going to have ribosomes to make the proteins. There's chaperone proteins that the bacteria already has, and all those do is let the protein string fold correctly. And a lot of the folding has to do with how the proteins interact with each other. The segments of the protein interacts with each other. The amino acids have different charges, and that dictates how it's going to fold.
Okay.
So I have a quick question since we're kind of in a lull. Why do you believe in bacteria, but you don't believe in viruses? What is the difference in your mind?
I've seen bacteria under a microscope.
So it's just the fact that you haven't. Well, what about the fact that we actually now can treat things, diagnose things, and plan out like a course of treatment that we predict will respond to, said course treatment, and it does. So if we were, prescribing medication or doing things for this, and it's responding like it would because the virus is there, how do you explain that?
What would be an example? You want me to explain it, but I don't have
an antiretroviral.
A what? A retrovirus?
An antiretroviral. Like medications that are used for controlling HIV infections.
Okay, well, I don't think HIV actually exists. I think
what causes AIDS?
That's like the biggest scam in the world.
What?
AIDS is either something like a taste.
Died from this, man. Like a lot of people.
People do die, and it's sad. People die of cancer too. That don't exist. But HIV is either tapeworm, an autoimmune disorder. It could be deficiencies or poisoning. There's a lot of reasons people get sick.
Yeah, but they've tested they know why people get sick from these. Like medical science understands how this works, and it's not bacteria, it's not fungus, it's not just some magical reason that you have pulled out of your asshole.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they test for certain proteins whenever they're testing for HIV. They don't actually test for the actual virus. So they get like these things that may not even be that accurate. But yeah, people do get sick. But like, for example, cancer, right?
Okay.
Just before you start
on
this, radio tower that you live in.
My mom died from cancer, so be careful where you go with this.
Yeah, I know people that died from cancer too.
So then how can you say it doesn't exist?
Okay, so I was trying to explain it. For example, if you live next to a radio tower, right? Maybe the radiation is really high. You go to the doctor and say, I'm getting sick. I don't know what's happening. He says, well, you have cancer. What's causing it? We don't know. Well, here's some chemo and here's some this and here's some that. It's not cancer. It's radio wave poisoning.
What is the radio wave doing?
I'm just saying, whatever's causing the cancer is the problem. not cancer itself. For example, you smoke all your life, right? And you get lung disease and you die from lung disease. It's not cancer. You've poisoned your lungs with cigarettes.
But that's what the cancer is.
What is the in the first scenario? What are the radio waves doing? In the smoking scenario, what is the smoking doing that's causing the disease?
Not so sure, but I think it's just messing up your cells, your DNA or something. I don't know.
That's what cancer is. Cancer is
so
just your cells are messed up. That's all it is.
You might as well call them sick. You got sick.
They are sick.
They do call it sick.
All right.
I mean,
here's the thing. In order for your cells to function properly, you have to have everything working the way it's supposed to. And you have to have control. The cells have to control how much they grow. They have to know when they should grow. And they have to have a feasible point when they are no longer around and they apoptose. What happens when you have, in the case of smoking or in radiation poisoning or any other kind of DNA damaging kind of situation, that control goes away. One of the things that we see when we look at cancer cells is telomerase is upregulated. So the telomeres don't shorten and the cells don't start having the issues that induce apoptosis from that way. There's no control over a lot of the things that control cell cycle and controlling proliferation and induction of apoptosis, and those cells just grow out of control, and that's what a cancer is. I'm not saying what you are saying is making people sick isn't the cause of the cancer, but cancer is a result of those things.
Sounds like a trigger word, though. That's all.
Why do you think it? Why do you think it's something that's a hoax, Joe? What would be the end game there?
I don't like to expose. I don't do exposing, so I'm not going to expose any government or anything.
Well, no, I'm not asking you to expose. I'm just asking you
money.
Why you think that would be a thing that somebody would want to do is to manufacture a mass disease like that.
The cancer and viruses have a money tagged onto them. So, but I'm not gonna go into detail about why. That's not
But bacteria doesn't.
I don't know. Have you ever heard of somebody catching the bacteria? Whenever they,
yeah, you can pick up bacteria, which causes sickness, and you have to take medication for it. So, I mean, why is that not a money thing, just like any kind of other thing you're talking about?
There are 8 vaccines for bacteria.
Yeah, I would argue that all vaccines are bacteria.
You would be wrong.
No. But if your thing is that viruses are a ploy for money, isn't that one of the things that would be a ploy for the money? The vaccines, if they're all bacteria, then the bacteria is the ploy for the money.
Okay.
Your logic train doesn't follow, bro. Plus, I
don't see.
I have another follow-up question. You say, I have to go back to this before we get too far from it. You said you don't expose. You don't do expose people.
Well, I do. I word it on my videos that way, though.
So I have a question. Yeah. Do you think you know something that other people don't know?
I know things that other people don't know, but you're going to ask me for evidence, and I'm one guy. So
no, I'm not going to ask you for evidence. Why do you think you know things that other people know? Like, when did this start? Were you too close to a radio tower?
No, you think I'm delusional or delusions of grandeur? Is that what you're getting at?
I think it sounds pretty crazy.
I think she's asking though where you would stumble upon that information that the average person.
I do a lot of thinking. So, well, most people do talking. I do a lot of thinking.
Okay.
So,
in your lot of thinking, does that include reading scientific literature?
Oh, I do a lot of reading on science. When I'm at the Goodwill, I'll read the science books. I'll buy some science books. I go on the internet and read. I don't have any personal incredulities to, but if the information doesn't come with the credential, I could access pretty much all the same information you can.
Do you have any thoughts in terms of like towards science that where you think that science can't be trusted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Evolution, outer space, spinning Earth.
Outer space.
Okay, one thing at a time.
That's another topic.
One thing at a time.
Spinning and objective materialism.
Okay.
I expose those.
Well, let me for just a second, because I think this could tie into what we're talking about tonight. What about evolution do you think is incorrect, and what is your hypothesis for how we came to being?
All the evidence for evolution is ambiguous.
Okay.
And I think that consciousness is an eternal constant, and it's always just watching something.
Okay, but how do you think that we got here as a species?
Oh, I've only been on this planet for 33 years, so I don't know. But I don't. Okay. I think
you're not making any claim that you do know something, like that you do know that evolution's wrong, and this is the way that it was done, right?
I argue from analogy. So if you were to switch on a video game, World of Warcraft, you switch it on, everything's already there. That's how it is. My reality started when I first perceived it, and it's going to end whenever I last perceive it.
I think somebody needs to take the cartridge out and blow in it a little bit. Joe.
So like the Matrix?
Sorry, go ahead.
Analogous to the Matrix, but not the Matrix.
Simulation theory.
I call it a mental simulation. So everything's a mental simulation, and we're in this virtual dream cloud.
If everything is a mental simulation, where did the mental part of it come from?
Yeah, that's what eternal means. It's a constant. Eternal means I don't come from nowhere. Eternal is a thing. That's why it's in the dictionary.
I do realize what eternal means, but how do you say that you are eternal if you, in a previous sentence, said you started 33 years ago and it will end when you die?
Yeah, my avatar, my body started, and it's part of the show as well. It's part of it's a video game.
Okay.
Yeah, so the video game character is stuck in this realm or whatever, but yeah. So back on viruses, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I had some questions. Have you done electron microscope?
Before you ask that question, Joe, I can't. I just have one question. I have to ask this. Isn't it more far-fetched if you're just thinking rationally and logically? Isn't it more far-fetched to go with the direction that you're going with, where we're eternal, just plugged in, game on, than looking at the actual pieces that you can see where we have a common ancestor? That
those pieces are ambiguous.
I don't think they are. I don't think they're.
And this vague eternal thing is not ambiguous?
Yeah.
It's how you want to see it. You can either see the glass half empty or half full, but they're both valid arguments. That's why I'm saying they're ambiguous. So my side is not any more right than your side, but it's an equal glass half empty.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you're very wrong.
If they're both equal, then why would you pick your side over the other side?
Because it's clear to me.
How is there's nothing clearer than there's these things that you think are ambiguous? Clear.
Many examples of ambiguity.
I don't need an example of ambiguity. I want to know why you think your version of ambiguity is clearer than what you think is ambiguous about evolution.
It's reverse engineered. It's deduced. So my model deduces better, and that's why I promote it over the other.
How so?
For example, the Earth isn't spinning, right?
Wrong.
Well, I know I can go into detail. Only because the atmosphere can't spin with the Earth. I've had this argument many times with many people. They say friction keeps the atmosphere rotating with the Earth.
So the sun is moving.
It's a virtual. Do you have Stellarium software on your computer? Stellarium astronomy.
No.
You don't. So if you're in a dream, right, and you look up at the sky and you're dreaming, you see the stars, sun, and moon, right? What are those luminaries made out of in your dream?
I think I'm dreaming now, actually.
Yeah, but in my dream, I can also walk through a door and end up in a whole different place. That's not how it works here.
Yeah, but what are those in your dream? They're just images, right? So I'm saying all the luminaries that you see are images, and our environment is imitating a heliocentric Earth, outer space. It's imitating all that stuff, but it's not necessarily true. That's why it's all theory. Yes?
Do you think stars are like projections?
They're images in the sky. Images
from what? Like, what's making the images?
Our consciousness.
Like, are they just like pictures hanging out in the sky?
It seems like
a video game world.
Daydreaming.
Okay, so are you the only one, or are we all participating in the same delusion?
As far as I'm concerned, we're all a network of minds, and it's not a delusion; it's a hallucination. We're all hallucinating this reality together.
That I believe.
We're a network of minds. So, like, we're like the Borg.
I don't know what that is.
From Star Trek. So, have you ever heard of Kyle's razor?
Casey just lost her mind.
You know that's just unacceptable.
Have you ever heard of Kyle's razor, Joe?
You mean Occam's razor?
No, Kyle's razor. I made up a law kind of similar to and that is because of simulation theory, actually, and that is that the dullest answer is usually the correct one.
And so you gotta show that empirically.
As cool as it would be to be part of a simulation, because it would be, there's actual like tangible pieces of evidence that you can see, touch, feel in front of you, pointing to the evolution route. Whereas with the simulation route, it's just conjecture. Pointed out, fossils are one.
What's the best evidence you guys got for the best? So
for evolution?
Is a picture which fossil specifically? Because any fossil could be its own kind. Well, they could all be all fossils could be their own kind.
Please don't say the kind word.
I retermed it though. I'm the only one in the whole world.
Okay, so if you've retermed it, you need to define it for the rest of us before you actually use it, because the rest of the class does not know what you're talking about then.
Right.
All right. So there's no such thing as variety of apes. There's kinds of apes. And humans are a kind of ape. There are many varieties of humans. So there's specific kinds of varieties. So let me give you another example. There's fish, that's a kind. There's the salmon, which is a specific kind, and there's many varieties of salmon. I could give you another example. One more, okay?
Well, those species and subspecies.
Right now.
They could be species or they could be varieties. A variety could be a species. So here's another one. There's a spider kind, right? There's a specific black widow kind. There are many varieties or species of black widows, depending on how the scientists decide to name them.
That's not even how classifications work.
Yeah. Are ducks a kind, or birds, or mallards?
We use taxonomy. It doesn't interfere with taxonomy. It does not interfere with taxonomy because it is taxonomy, Linnaean taxonomy.
You do know that you don't just get to redefine things how you want to, and that makes it true, right?
Do you follow Hoax?
Okay, so
I try to get hold of one.
What level in the taxonomy that everybody else uses is a kind?
Any level could be, it's arbitrary in that sense, but it would never come up. We're kind of eukaryote, kind of animal, kind of mammal, kind of ape, kind of human, but it would never come up like that in conversation. Because you don't go around saying, I live in a kind of house, in a kind of city, in a kind of state, in a kind of country, in a kind of earth, in a kind of solar system, in a kind of galaxy. You don't ever say that.
It would never come up in conversation because it doesn't fucking make any sense.
Right.
It makes perfect sense.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
How does it? If you guys say it doesn't work, you gotta be specific. Because I am a human kind.
What kind of human are you?
We're not sure. So I have a question. When did this? Have you always been like conspiratorial, or
I'm not conspiracy? I just bust hoaxes. Bust hoaxes. So I'm not. I don't believe in aliens or chemtrails.
What hoax?
So
Give
that's
us an
not
example of a hoax that you busted.
That I have busted. Evolution.
No, you have not. You have not busted that.
I'm the best at it.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. If you had done a good enough job of busting air quotes on that evolution, you would have a Nobel Prize right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Nobel man. I don't want a Nobel Prize.
What?
Okay. Well, that was well played. I'll give you that.
So when did you start like thinking like this? Did something happen to you in your life, or have you always been like this?
I'm probably an introvert, so I think a lot.
What was the first thing that got you? What was the first thing that you looked at and said, somebody's lying here? This isn't the way that it is.
It's intuitive. Some people are just born with it.
What was the first? I don't want to say what was the first conspiracy that you looked at and said, okay,
when I was a kid,
there's something wrong here?
When I was a kid, I saw Fox 40. The moon landing hoax was on the Fox channel when I was a kid. This is years ago. And I went my whole life being curious. Did they go to the moon or did they not go to the moon? So why would they fake it? As I got more intelligent, I'm like, oh shit, that's it. So totally fake.
No.
It's another topic.
Why? But I mean, your first inclination was right. Why would they fake it?
Yeah, that's a whole show by itself.
You know, they left stuff on the moon that we bounce shit off of every day, right?
Yeah, I could. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I could debunk that, I promise. But
you can't. You can't debunk it because people use it every fucking day in laboratories and in.
These are all controlled environments, though. Yeah, but.
Okay, I know that we've gotten way off of, but I mean, you have to understand, Joe, that this is not something that's an everyday kind of conversation. And I think it goes a long way in kind of summing up who you are and getting a feel for where you're coming from. But
I mainly evolution.
Go ahead.
I want to debate Aaron Ra.
Oh no, you don't. No, you don't.
That is really entertaining.
Joe, I think you're wrong about all of this, but there's a part of me that kind of can tell that you're a decent guy and you wouldn't want to go that route. I mean, if you want to go that route, I will certainly set it up.
Aaron would not do this.
I think he would talk to him.
I don't think he would.
I'm losing.
I don't think he would waste his time.
But let me ask you this, though. How do we know?
I lost you.
How do we know that? What do you say?
I don't know.
Joe, can you hear me? Joe?
I lost you.
No, we're right here. It's a conspiracy. NASA is cutting the feed, Joe. They don't want.
There's a glitch in the fucking matrix,
they don't
y'all.
want can you hear me, Joe?
Oh, he's all frozen up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Joe knows the backup plan
because
he said that he was having router issues, so he's going to call in and just use his audio only.
No.
Okay. So while we wait for Joe to come back, let's man. Okay, I didn't know that there was so much to unpack there. But what's crazy to me, and where I take offense with Joe, is that
he's moved again.
What's that?
He's moved again.
Oh, Joe, can you hear me? I was getting ready to talk about where I took offense with you.
Oh, I think he's going in and out. We'll see.
Joe, if you can hear me, drop out and then use that backup number that I told you if your router went out. And call in. Okay.
Oh, here we go. He's gone.
So
okay,
here's the thing. I searched out his YouTube page, right, and I'm looking at all of the different conspiracies that he covers. Joe, are you back? So there's one conspiracy that he does not subscribe to. Thinks it's ludicrous. And what conspiracy do you think that would be?
Flat Earth?
No. The one I subscribe to. The one conspiracy that
the Sphinx?
Yes. The dating of the ancient, he thinks that's ludicrous.
Well, that's because he doesn't understand. I mean, it probably is, but
it's actually more plausible than
I love you, Kyle.
Here on the show on a daily.
But I'm just stop for a second.
Well, I know this is crazy as fuck. I mean,
I can hear you.
Can you hear us? Because you're back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, we're just taking a break from the tent stuff real quick to address something that I do take issue with on your channel. And that is that
evolution.
No. Well, I mean, yeah, of course I take issue with that, but where I take personal, where I'm personally hurt here is that you don't think that the pyramids or the Sphinx is older than they say it is, right?
I don't know how old they are. I doubt they're that old though.
Well,
or that hard to build.
I saw your video where you were just like, well, that's just crazy to think that it's older than that. We know how they moved those blocks and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm sitting here watching you destroy viruses and and evolution and dinosaurs. And when we get to the one conspiracy that it's like my baby on here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jimmy was telling me you like pyramids.
I do. But I digress. We'll cover that at a different time. But I think what it is for what I'm seeing, right? Casey brought up a good point earlier. You don't have a problem with bacteria because you can see it. It's the things that you can't see that people are kind of making inferences or educated guesses and ways that work, but can't be verified with their eyes, right? Would that be fair to say?
Theory, right? That's what theory is all about.
Okay, but they're taking those theories though, and they're going a step further, and they're actually making predictions on how things will interact with that model that they've come to. So
just to be a nitpicky person, hypotheses.
Okay.
We have hypotheses because theory and science is different.
So you see where I'm going there, Joe?
Yeah, they're making predictions and stuff like that.
And they work.
I'll make a prediction. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, I predict that if they are a hoax, they will have total establishments dedicated to research on them. They would have this vaccines. They would have virologies. They would have universities. They would be doing studies, getting grants. I predict that would happen.
But we have all of that for bacteria too.
Yeah, but do you know why they have that, Joe? So that they can further advance treatments, things like that. Like there's a reason for those things existing.
Like they could further advance space travel?
Yes.
We can absolutely do
that. But if your reason for saying that, okay, the viruses aren't real and they're making them up so that they can write grants and have people that's all that they work on. The same can be applied to bacteria, but you believe those.
Bacteria are scarier, or viruses are scarier.
What the fuck does scary have to do with anything?
Joe, are you messing with us?
I am not.
Joe,
you have to be.
For example, have you seen the 1972 blue marble picture of the Earth?
Yes.
Oh, for God's sake!
That's a painting.
No.
That's where we go our separate ways. It's a painting.
NASA did do CGI images of the Earth for a very specific reason. Do you know what that specific reason was?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the painting before CGI.
Okay, because the Earth in the 70s, it was too big to take in one shot. So you're going to have to.
That's also not the only reason. The cameras that they have in space take pictures through filters. And so you have the red, blue, and the green filters that they have to lay on top of each other to get the right coloring. Okay, so just because something is photoshopped doesn't necessarily mean that it is altered. And sometimes the time between the times that they take the images through the different filters, something will move, and so they'll have to adjust a little bit, but that doesn't mean they're fake.
I didn't say.
Joe, hold on, Joe. You said you like to talk in analogies, right? Let me give you an analogy
I love analogies. Yeah.
Okay, well, follow me here, right? Okay, so you see Steven Tyler on a Rolling Stone magazine, right? And he looks fabulous. I mean, his skin is great color. He's just alive and kicking.
You can tell he's done any drugs or drank any alcohol at all.
And then you see him the next day outside Trader Joe's, and he's got his hair up in half of a bandana and looks like he's been on meth for the past 2 weeks. Just because that Steven Tyler was photoshopped does not mean that Steven Tyler is not the shape of Steven Tyler.
Yeah. But maybe that singer doesn't exist, and
he exists. I've seen him in concert.
I'm arguing for an analogy though. Yeah, but but maybe Steven Tyler doesn't exist in the first place.
Like I've met this person.
Okay, Joe, you see. This is where the problem is, right? I'm glad you said that, Joe, because this is where the problem is. You can't accept that might be an actual truth that you come to, like with Steven Tyler. So you have to push. You want to push further into. Well, now we're not even talking about whether Steven Tyler looks like he's 72 or looks like he's 93. It's that Steven Tyler just doesn't exist. Period.
I was just arguing from analogy as well. But you can't tell. You can't tell that 1972 Blue Marble is a painting. I mean,
okay.
That's just.
Let me grant you this. What if it was a painting? Now what?
She gave me an explanation.
Okay, let's say it was a painting.
It wouldn't mean nothing. It would just be a painting that they put out.
Right. Okay. But I'm granting it to you. Let's say for this conversation, it is a painting.
What does that prove?
How does that affect the shape of the Earth?
Well, I don't care about the shape of the Earth. I'm saying a picture of the ball doesn't exist.
It does exist.
Yes.
Well, okay, wait, hang on. If we live in a collective mental delusion, why would somebody who actually believes that we live on a spinning ball not be able to produce an image of the spinning ball within this delusion?
What you're asking is why couldn't the creator, whatever that might be, let us
the minds of the people that believe it? If we believe it, it's true. Isn't that the way that this would work?
No.
Would we be able to know that?
If we're making the world from our own mind, why not?
Subconsciously. You don't control your world. You can only control how you interact with it. But it's not like a freaking free for all here. It has rules.
Okay, so
why would one of those rules be that in the simulation that we're in, where we're on a spinning ball, you can't actually take a picture of it?
Because we're confined to our environment and we're restricted from seeing it from the outside. So like World of Warcraft, are you allowed to leave the ground and see the Earth? I don't know. Are you? You might be, but say you can't. That's
the argument from Warcraft fallacy. I'm gonna have to call you.
But if the point is the environment that we live in is a simulation, why would the entire universe not be within that simulation? Because we don't know what's outside of the universe. So therefore, if we're going with we are in a simulation, why is just what we can see on the ground in the simulation, but the rest is not?
Are you saying what's up there?
Right.
That's a good question.
Why would the rest of the universe not be part of the simulation?
Yeah. Well, and what is up there?
I think I don't try to convince people of this, that our environment is imitating outer space, imitating round Earth, imitating spinning Earth. It's imitating it, but it's not actually it. Like you're in a virtual program. But if we're in a simulation, everything is imitating something, because it's a lot of wasted space, actually. So can you think of it like a dream? You can't leave the ground in the dream.
This is reality.
Who says you can't leave the ground? I've flown in dreams before. Why would I not be able to leave the ground in a dream? Like it's a dream.
Say it's like a dream, right? You're not allowed to leave the ground too far, maybe 50,000 feet or whatever. But that's just the way it is here. You're not allowed to leave.
So
if somebody's actually dreamed about flying to Alpha Centauri, that means what then?
Well, that would be you taking my analogy out of principle. I'm trying to prove a point.
It's out of context, y'all. It's out of context. Ding! Do we have a dinger for that?
But if you're saying that the simulation is like a dream, and there are rules for the simulation, just like there are rules for the dream. If somebody can dream about going to Alpha Centauri, then why would you not be able to in a simulation, which is essentially a dream?
I think he's saying that you can dream it, but the elements that build our universe won't allow that to happen.
Yes, exactly.
Well, yes.
Thank you.
So you said that we have rules. So you said that there are rules. Are these rules posted on the internet, or like where
rules.
Can we?
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
Serious question.
Is there a God rules channel? I don't want to hear.
What is on the outside? What is space, Joe? If you don't think space exists, what is up above? If I just shoot up in the sky right now, like Mad Mike Hughes did, what am I going to hit?
An air barrier. You can't go. You can only go.
A what barrier? An air barrier?
You can only go so high. A gradient barrier. Gradient.
Okay, so what's beyond the gradient barrier?
Here's the gradient, sure.
So you think there's nothing in space?
I think, I'm not trying to prove this, that they're just images in the sky. The moon looks like it has texture, right?
I'm not talking about the moon. I'm talking about like satellites.
Oh, satellites don't exist.
Oh, satellites.
They exist. They exist, but they're like drones and airplanes.
No,
they're not floating around space.
You don't have like direct TV or anything.
Then float in space.
No, satellites exist. Yes, satellites exist, but they're not floating boxes in space.
What are they?
They're like drones and radio towers and cell phone towers and underground fiber optic cables.
No.
Satellites are underground fiber optic cables. That does not even make sense.
How do you explain meteors? Meteors.
That's how we're talking right now.
All of a sudden, shit that's in space is underground.
Well, how do you explain meteors, Joe?
How do I explain meteors
from outer space?
So meteors are the big ones are hoaxed, right? The Russian government has they're like fancy fireworks, but the natural ones, I think the natural ones are just the sky putting on a show for us because we are supposed to be living in outer space.
Joe,
I never found a meteorite myself.
Well, I haven't either. I have never found a 4-leaf clover. That's a true story, but that does not mean that 4-leaf clovers aren't out there to be found, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
a good fallacy.
If you don't have like an answer to something, or you've never seen it, it can't be immediately you're going to. That's a Russian hoax, because we've seen there are videos of these things shooting in from outer space.
Oh, those are hoaxes. Those ones are hoaxes. Now, a shooting star.
So the only way that you would believe that a meteor actually is real is if you physically saw it with your own eyes, not on a video.
Not even that, because
you think they're shooting those things in intentionally.
They're fireworks, yeah. Well, I know they are, but
wait.
They're fireworks to make a big ass.
But who is shooting them, and where are they shooting them from if we can't go to space?
Well, they're not shooting them from the ground, obviously. They're shooting them probably from U-2 spy planes in the stratosphere.
Joe, you realize that you're making up these fantastical explanations for things that are so harder. That it would be much more difficult to pull off and make happen.
Am I right though?
No,
you're not right.
Absolutely not.
Well, what I'm hoping is that you look into it. Well, you'll look into the validity of my claims. Well, they're not my claims; they're my anti-claims.
Well, your anti-claims are fucking ridiculous.
Joe, it's like this: if I see somebody throw a baseball at me, right, and the baseball hits me, and I see the person who threw the baseball at me, if somebody comes up and then says that actually teleported through a hole in the ground, came up back around the side of the earth and hit you, I don't need to look into that, because I see where it came from myself. So what conspiracy people do sometimes is yes, it's fun, it's exciting, it's you want to think that you know something that no one else does.
Not always.
Well, not always, but that's an appeal to it. So what you do is you look at something. You look at something that has a you can see where there's like 7 duplicitous endings to it, right? It can't be what they say it is, because they lie to us. They've lied about, something here. They've lied about something here. Everybody, I think, would agree that with the statement, the government lies sometimes. I think everybody would agree with that.
I would never say that.
But of course you wouldn't. But
So why would they come after you?
You then can't look at that and say, because they lied about this,
my government.
they lied about that thing, that they're lying about everything.
Well, crop circles are fake. Do you believe crop circles?
No.
They're fake, right?
Right.
Just like everything else is fake. You could believe crop circles, take that a little bit step further. And
crop circles are done by a group of people that want the world to think that we are.
You're a conspiracy theorist because you're saying that crop circles are fake.
Well, considering the people that made the crop circles actually said this is what we did and how we did it, it's kind of a different thing.
They show how it's done. The only alternative would be that there are just aliens up there who have nothing better to do than wait for all the cows to go to sleep and come down and draw pictures in the grass and then right back up into space. That doesn't exist, by the way. So where are they going?
All right. See, do I have any more virus talk?
That was a hell of a segue. We haven't even gotten to dinosaurs.
No, wait. Actually, I want to continue. Right?
Sure.
I asked you a question. I know you said your fossil evidence was your best evidence.
Yeah.
And I pretty much just said whatever animal that was is its own kind. Which I define. What was your second best evidence for evolution?
For evolution, the fact that we are within, I forget the number off the top of my head, but so many chromosomes away from apes. I mean, we're that similar.
The chromosome 2 fusion? Chromosome 2 fusion? Or are you talking about the similarities?
The similarities.
I wouldn't argue that we're not.
I can't get it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I cannot even begin to get into the
how. Yeah. How apes don't exist.
The similarities. Oh man.
Yeah. I look at the transitional fossils. I've seen that in detail. That's pretty specific. There are even when you're looking at birds and dinosaurs, there are minuscule. I mean, just like fractions of change within these fossils that allowed for ones that used to run on the ground, trying to get up into trees, would like jump. Those eventually grew. I forget the name of the.
Tiktaalik.
No.
Australopithecus.
It was the kind of feather barb that they grew. But you just see these things that are so minuscule in the grand scheme of things that it points directly that you're coming down a line from a common ancestor, no doubt.
I mean, you deny everything.
So you think that dinosaurs have never existed evolved in the birds? Not everything.
Okay, so deny.
Back up. What? Dinosaurs never existed? What?
Yeah, he's going to be on that show too.
Yeah, that's his other.
Well, have you seen fossils? Because I ask everybody that don't believe it. Have you touched a fossil of a dinosaur?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then maybe I'm wrong. So getting back to the similarities between chromosomes, does having similar things make you related by automatically?
Automatically, no.
All right, so that was your greatest evidence. It's pretty ambiguous, right?
You asked me for my two best pieces. There are millions and millions and millions, and actually probably one of the greatest minds in terms of evolution is in the live chat, Dr. Mays.
Dr. Mays, I'd like to debate you sometime on evolution.
Doctor, I'm telling you,
you know what? You know what I admire about you, Joe? Your confidence and your stupidity. I think that's great.
He aims high.
Yeah.
I think you're very pretty.
Okay. Actually, Dr. May says yes.
Oh, really? All right. Schedule that.
Wait, I hope that I wasn't. I hope that I wasn't reading.
Caps and a exclamation point.
Yeah, I hope.
Right. Who said yet? Oh,
there's a delay on here. I hope that he's not talking. I hope he wasn't. It's patterns of variation that are predicted by common ancestry. Oh God.
Oh dear God.
Oh dear God.
So I have a question.
In your response in the chat.
I do have a question though. What would prove things to you? Like, because you have all of this scientific evidence at your fingertips, right? You said you read science books. So it's not like you're completely oblivious to science. Why are you so hell-bent on rejecting it? What would make you accept these things?
Like I said before, it's the ambiguity of the evidence. And the fact that I've never seen a kind turn into another kind, as I define it.
Right. And you're never going to, because it doesn't work like that. Like, people
I can reword it to macroevolution. I've never seen macroevolution. Nobody has outside of speciation.
Well, because of time.
Because you're going to die. We're fucking mortal.
Yeah, but there's like yeast you can make evolve.
These things take...
That's bacteria. That's not the same thing.
Well, yeast is not bacteria. But...
Yeast is not bacteria.
Well, that's true. But like the bacteria, like the evolution that you see in bacteria and things like that, that's not the same thing.
It's not the same type of evolution.
I mean, evolution is evolution. It just takes a long time for bacteria to become something other than bacteria.
Which will never happen.
How do you account for
I'm so confused by him.
Our human...
We're not human.
Cousins.
We're constructs.
Like Neanderthals and stuff like that. How do you account for... What were they?
Early humans.
Okay, good. Were they different from us substantially?
No, they were just like humans. You know how they look in those tribes in like Africa, those endogenous tribes in Africa? They probably look like that.
Okay, but you can look at even the skulls and the shape of their skulls and things and tell they were completely different in that sense.
The brain cavity itself has expanded.
Right. So what were they?
Primitive human.
Okay. If they existed, if that wasn't like a hoax, if they really did exist, it could be their own kind. They could just be their own kind.
That's what's disingenuous, Joe, is that every time you get to a point where, okay, it points to the opposite side of what you're arguing for, you say hoax. Like, I mean, and that can't be a blanket. That cannot be a blanket statement when you don't have a better answer to return to that.
That's why I said if they're not just some hoax or whatever.
Okay, let's say they're not a hoax. Then how would you explain it?
They would be their own kind.
Okay, so just putting this out there, it is okay to say you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I don't know. Watch the show and you'll find that out. But I have no problem saying that.
I really don't know what happened in the past, but I know what we cannot do in the present. Which
is what?
Macro evolve outside of speciation.
No, we are. We're always evolving.
That's the speculative statement.
You just won't see the end results.
Microevolution, yeah, but to say that microevolution amounts to macroevolution is...
Talk to me about your appendix. What do you use your appendix for?
My gut flora, as a reservoir for my gut flora.
Okay, can you live without it?
Yes.
How about your
I could live without my arms and legs.
Wisdom teeth.
I could live without my arms and legs too.
Sure, but do you think that was always the case?
What? Early humans needed wisdom teeth at one time.
Okay.
Why?
Okay, good. Okay. Why don't we need them anymore?
I don't know. We could still probably use them if our teeth rotted out. We could probably
you literally just made the best case for evolution right there.
Right.
Early humans did not need them.
Do you know why we don't have space in our jaws anymore for wisdom teeth? Mostly
because back in the day, our teeth used to rot out from cavities, and we probably needed them at one time.
Okay.
Actually, no.
There's people that have wisdom teeth and don't have a problem with it.
You're missing the point.
There are people that have to have them taken out because they're impacted because there's no room in their jaw.
Right. The ultimate thing is you said it. You hit the nail on the head. Earlier humans needed them and used them. Now that we don't need them anymore, they're starting to. Your jaw is getting tighter. The room in there is getting tighter, and you don't need them anymore. That is, by definition, evolution.
Because we brush our teeth now. Our teeth don't rot out and fall out like they used to.
Okay, let's say that's a reason.
The rotting out actually has nothing to do with why you had room for wisdom teeth or not.
Right.
you rot out your teeth, you still have only a limited amount of space for the teeth that would come in. We're not like sharks where we replace our teeth.
Right. But let's go with your example and say that was the reason why the human as a species is evolving to adapt to that. So let's say because we're brushing now, that's what's making our jaw smaller. That would be evolution because your jaw is actually getting smaller.
Well, I don't argue about microevolution by any means.
So you don't argue about microevolution, but it doesn't fit in your head that microevolution over a really long time can lead to enough changes that it results in the macroevolution.
Well, I got a human genome. It has the word human written on it, and that's fixed, and it's going to stay that way. The same thing with the ladybug and a spider. They are what they are.
How do you know we're not going to evolve into something that's different than we are now, that is no longer human?
Well, like blue avatars or a rat?
No.
There are blue people in. Well,
Kentucky.
there were blue
So you're
people
saying
in
a rat could evolve into Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Have
Yes,
you been
that's
talking
exactly
to
what
George
we're
Lujack,
saying.
Joe?
Jesus Christ. No, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah, it
Joe.
is. A rat could evolve into Splinter.
This guy's a mess.
No, I only talked to my friend Jimmy.
If you
I really want now Splinter and the Avatar to be together.
if you look at specific dog breeds now.
Yep.
Right. We've bred for that.
Yeah.
That's something that we see a trait, you breed for it, and eventually that catches on.
If there is a wolf kind, more specifically there is many varieties of wolves.
Okay.
What's your point?
You got the mammal kind. Dogs is a specific kind of, or wolves are a specific.
Wait, mammal kind?
Kind is not a word people that deal with evolution use. We talked about this last Monday. Watch the interview from Aaron Ra. He explains why kind is not a word you use in this situation.
Well, it is a word you use because it's not interfering with taxonomy.
No, it's not a word that anyone else
just said mammal kind and wolf kind.
Yeah, so there are many varieties of wolves.
It bastardizes.
But there are a lot of different kinds of mammals.
Yes, you just said kinds, by the way.
What's a clade?
It's
there are a lot
the same
of
thing as a kind.
Species of mammal.
The difference between kind and clad is kind doesn't draw common ancestry among everything, but clads draw common ancestry towards everything. So kind has minimal common ancestry.
Kind is not a word that you use in this situation.
She just said kind.
Kind.
She's not using it the same way that you are.
Yeah, she did.
And she's.
There are a lot of different animals.
Kinds of animals.
There are a lot of different animals that are mammals, including
it's a kind of mammal.
Wolves.
Yeah, and wolves.
So you said there are mammal kinds.
Yes.
And there are wolf kinds.
Yeah, wolf is a specific kind.
What you're saying is kind is just something that you're going to add to every single level of taxonomy because you like that word.
Right.
Not every level. Not the variety.
Is prairie dog a kind or is squirrel a kind?
No, a squirrel is a specific kind. There are many varieties of squirrel. A prairie dog is a variety of wolf.
Okay, so you don't see that there could be that squirrels and prairie dogs could have a link somewhere. They're completely separate as far as you're concerned.
There's a squirrel kind.
There's a prairie dog.
Did you say prairie dog is in a wolf kind? Do you know what a prairie dog is?
Is it not a dog?
No, it looks like a little gopher.
Oh, I thought it was a dog. I don't know what a prairie dog is.
It looks like a little squirrel. So what would those be?
So I don't know what it looks like.
Okay, let's do this. Let's say a gopher, right?
Okay.
A squirrel and a gopher.
Okay.
Is there a gopher kind and a squirrel kind, or are they going to be somehow linked together?
They're both specific kinds without common ancestry. There are many varieties of each.
Specific kinds of what?
Specific kinds of whatever taxonomic level you're referring to.
So back to what I said, you just put kinds on every level of taxonomy you feel like needs to have that word because you like it.
Right.
Can you
for species.
Can you
Kind is
explain?
not a species.
Can you explain ring species?
Yes. Well, are you assuming I already know what it is? Because I know what it is. Is that what you want to know?
I'm asking you if you know what it is, and if
I
you
know
do,
what it is.
explain it. Okay, so can you explain ring species?
It's a reproductive occurrence whenever like the same kind of animal among a wide geographic area can no longer reproduce. They can only reproduce in a circle.
Okay, why can they no longer reproduce?
Because of sexual occurrences, reproductive occurrences, with their changing alleles in their sexual organs.
Okay, so there are changes in these species.
Yes, but they're still the same kind.
Right.
Many varieties, nonetheless, and you could call them many different species.
But you don't see how that is like species evolving.
No, that's still within the kind. Microevolution does exist, and that would be microevolution. But they're still the same kind. Many varieties of that kind, nonetheless.
So why doesn't the logic go forward? Like, so you say microevolution exists. So over long periods of time, you have microevolution, and that continues to happen, right? Until a point where you have so many changes that in time you have macroevolution. Why does that not
register?
Why do you not carry the logic forward?
Why is that not registering with me? Because it's speculation, and all we've ever observed is kinds producing after their kind.
Right. But we can't observe that like living, because it takes too long and we die.
So why would you assume it?
We don't assume it. We can see it in fossils. We can see transitional fossil species changing.
Well, most of these fossils are their own kind.
What are you talking about?
I
don't know what that word means, because I don't understand how you use it. And no matter how many times you explain it, I'm still not understanding how you're using that word.
All right, I could just say specific organism. Would that help?
Sure.
Specific organisms cannot evolve into another specific organism. Specific organism cannot evolve into another specific organism.
No, it's a population evolves. Individuals don't.
Well, that's what I assumed.
Well, I mean, like a bat is not going to evolve into a ladybug. That's not what anybody thinks.
And elephants are not going to evolve into pine trees, obviously.
Huh. But just because we're all eukaryotes doesn't mean we all have a common ancestor. They're using the Linnaean taxonomy for evidence as common ancestry.
They're using genetic and fossil evidence for common ancestry.
And the fact that one of the gentlemen who probably can explain it better than anyone is watching this now. And I sat and listened to him and Kent Hovind making the same arguments that you are right now. He was literally making the same arguments that
I do it better than Kent Hovind.
I don't think that you can do this better or worse. I don't think that's a thing. I think it's just a bad argument altogether, but one that has been time and time again, whether it be through Dr. Herman Mays or Aaron Ra, they take the time out to explain these far better than I ever could attempt to do. And if you would just listen to them explaining it.
I wish they would listen to me explain it to them.
But you
don't make any sense, man.
Dr. Herman Mays went to years of school and research to do this. Like, this is his field. I wouldn't go to a heart surgeon and say, look, I have this brand new, radically cool way I think we can cut into your somebody's chest. Let's give it a whirl. You don't do that because that's not your specialty. It doesn't work like that. I mean, and maybe in the simulation world it works like that, but in the real round world where evolution got us to the point that we are here today, it doesn't work like that at all.
Yeah, I just wish somebody would listen to me. But this Dr. Herman, right? He has never seen macroevolution outside of speciation.
He is listening to you, and a lot of people are listening to you. We're listening to you, and we're asking you questions because we want to know. But the things that you're saying don't comport to reality. I mean, they just don't fit.
I don't know how much real you can get. Yeast produce yeast, bacteria produce bacteria, ladybugs produce ladybugs.
Okay, just out of curiosity, Have you ever been to a natural history museum and looked at what is there? Just looked at it.
Like the Smithsonian? The statues standing around?
That would be one.
Yeah, they have statues standing around. Or like
they have fossils.
Yeah.
They do have some of those, but they also have fossils.
So show me a picture of this fossil, and I'll talk to you about it. Tectonic is a good example. You see, tectonic is supposed to be transitioning land species or whatever. That's the best they got. The same fossil pictures over and over. There should be billions of them.
Do you know how fossils are made?
I'm trying to figure out how to make one myself.
Well, you can't, because it takes way longer than you're going to be alive, and it requires very specific conditions.
I bet I could make one just by boiling it in mineral water.
No,
that
maybe
would
I don't
be
know.
called making.
That
soup.
would make
right. You don't know. That is the most honest thing you have said today.
Joe,
I don't know.
Joe, let's.
So I want to talk about,
since we're nearing the end of our time together, let's cut all the bullshit.
All right, one more question,
and just admit that this is all a ruse. It's all it's a good ruse, and I think that you play it well, but you don't believe any of this shit, do you?
The most confident one I'm on is evolution. I'm the most confident on.
Oh God!
But I mean, do you guys think we evolved out of warm, bubbling mineral water?
Totally. That's exactly what I think.
Who says that's what we evolved from?
You're using
bubbling mineral water. In fact, I'm going to go boil some mineral water on my stove and see if I can grow another fucking human.
What I don't think, Joe, is that there's somebody in some office somewhere that has created all of this in pixels and is watching it on a computer screen.
Oh, that's a straw man. I never said that. It's a straw
aimlessly. Man. So is the boiling water. We never said that either.
She just said she believes it.
I was being sarcastic, for God's sake.
Right.
Oh,
right. You
that didn't even have
we evolve out of.
You didn't even have just text to not notice the sarcasm.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. And, well, and I will say in her defense that on this show, not many people get sarcasm. It seems to cause all kind of.
Godless Engineer would like to ask a question. Would that be okay with everybody?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Joe. I was listening on the drive back. I would like to point out an inherent contradiction with your whole kinds.
Sure.
That nobody seemed to point out to you. So you keep on harping about how, like each kind reproduces and produces its own kind, right?
Yes. Yeast produce yeast. Rabbits produce rabbits.
Well, earlier when you were talking about ring species, you pointed out how these different species of the same kind can't reproduce with each other. So
they're still birds. So the specific kind they're birds, right? Are they still the same specific kind of animal?
Well, yeah, they are, but they cannot interbreed with the other.
That's not what we mean.
Okay, wait, hang on. I have another question now since we brought you said mammal kind earlier. Not all mammals can reproduce with each other.
Go get a chair.
Yeah, so whenever we say produce forward after its kind, we don't mean this rabbit and that rabbit can't reproduce. We mean this rabbit can reproduce this way, this rabbit can reproduce this way. It has nothing to do with this.
Okay, but mammals have a lot of different species in them that you would term as different kinds. So that would be the mammals are a common ancestor.
Well, that would be a logical fallacy. Which one would that be? Oh, yeah. Saying that categorizing things is evidence for common ancestry.
You just said that kinds reproduce within their own kinds, and you labeled something as a mammal kind earlier. So therefore, every mammal came from a mammal.
Nobody's arguing that.
The mammal kind. If they're not reproducing with each other, they had to have come from somewhere.
Joe, you don't want to start with the calling out of fallacies, do you?
I'm really bad at it. All right, so
yeah, we noticed because we tried to call out a fallacy.
Kinds produce specific kinds. So specific kinds produce specific kinds. Now, a mammal isn't an animal. It can't have sex.
So back to what I said before. You use kind wherever you want to sprinkle it because you like the word, and it doesn't necessarily mean what you just defined it as.
You're trying to get me to think that I'm moving the goalpost. No, it's the same thing.
No, because you said a mammal kind earlier. A mammal kind is not going to be the same thing as what you're using kind as for reproduction.
Yeah, so a mammal, there's a category of mammals, and there's salmon. I mean, there's wolves within that category.
Salmon are not mammals.
A wolf is a specific kind, and there are many varieties of wolves. So specific kinds is what you got to understand what that is. So the kind and a specific kind are two different things.
What? It's a specific kind of what?
So, for example, fish is a kind, and then you got a more specific fish, salmon, and there are many varieties or many different species of salmon. So specific kinds produce after specific kinds and never anything else.
So you need to be much more specific when you are using the terms, because you weren't saying specific kind earlier when you were talking about reproduction. If you want to use kind in that way and have people not be able to say, hey, you're moving the goalposts, you need to be very deliberate in your wording.
Okay, so I was being confusing. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Just pointing that out. You should be very deliberate in how you say things if you don't want people to just dismiss you out hand.
Thank you.
Kind is the new Smurf.
I'm the only one on the internet that makes sense out of kinds. I'm the only one.
No, you're not.
You can make sense of them because it's your terminology.
Not really. It's
yes, really, honey. There's a reason. There's a reason why you're the only one who can understand it. Like, you get that, right?
But he's not. Like, Kent Hovind would back him up 100% on that.
Kent Hovind, let's not even. I don't even want to talk about.
I'm just saying. Joe, do you want to be in the same ilk as Kent Hovind? That's my ultimate.
Well, I like Kent Hovind, but I agree with some.
Then we have gotten to the bottom of that. We have unraveled that.
No,
mystery.
I'm talking.
Can we get to questions? It's getting late. We've been on.
Haven't we been in questions for like the past?
I just need audience questions. Audience questions. We have some audience questions.
Yeah, we have a lot of super chats. So thank you for those. We will read all of those. Thank you for sending them.
Yes, I do.
Are we reading those now?
Dave, do you have them? Do you have them backtracked?
So let me start with.
Yeah, they were.
Let's do those first.
Do prions, mad cow disease, for example, exist, or are they also part of some hoax or misunderstanding? Yes.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Is that a parasite or a bacteria or a virus? It's a virus, right?
No, prions are malformed or truncated proteins.
I think the question isn't for me. I think it's for Michelle.
No, it would be for you because I do actually believe that they are disease causing.
I mean, is this a viral
That is
question?
actually a thing. It's a variation. You don't believe that viruses exist because you don't see them. You can't see prions.
Okay, I can't make sense of how they're assembled.
Follow-up question:
Okay.
How can people die from viruses and cancer if neither exists?
So I don't know. Good. Let's move on to the next one.
To treat these things if they don't exist.
I honestly think you want to sit down, pal.
Sorry.
Oh, I know the answer to this one.
Vitamin B17.
Money.
Let me turn Hal off right now.
That's actually good advice right now.
So
what's your answer for that, Joe? What are people dying of if not these diseases and viruses?
Bacteria, fungus, parasites, malnutrition, deficiencies, and poison.
No, they're not any of those things. Okay.
Before you laugh some more, have any of your schools taught theories cured cancer? Can any of you think outside the textbook? Calm your feels. Yeah, somebody's telling us to calm our feels.
Wait. Say that again?
Yeah.
What kind of fucking question is that?
Our feels?
Yeah, we don't have
My
fields.
fields are all happy.
Yeah, we have a field of science where people are making advances towards curing these diseases at a far greater rate than they ever have. We don't have feels. We have actual hard evidence and data, and seeing people, the people that we know and love, suffering from these diseases. So we don't have feels. We have evidence and facts. And when you have the same, we'll have a conversation.
Well, and just because we can't necessarily cure something today doesn't mean we won't be able to cure it tomorrow. There's a lot of diseases that used to exist that don't any longer because we have vaccinations against them. Exactly. Or they, in theory, wouldn't exist if fucking anti-vaxxers didn't exist. But anyway, I digress.
Exactly.
Shadow says, does radiation from this stuff give us cancer? I don't know what this stuff refers to. That was at 9 o'clock. Okay. Continuing. If we're a network
no, it doesn't give you cancer. It gives you radiation poisoning.
Then he made up everything he doesn't believe. Dun, dun, dun. Well, it's just a statement, not a question.
That's kind of a misunderstanding of the model.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave, can you come closer to your microphone? You sound like you're in a different room.
Cthulhu says flat Earth belief is stupid, but I don't think it's as harmful to humanity as denying viruses can be. Jamie Sislow says, I don't have a model, but Agreed. I can negate yours fallacy.
Well, okay.
Also, why does Joe take medicine if this is a simulation?
Yes. I don't know. Joe, why do you take medicine?
Because we still are prone to the laws of physics.
Okay.
How do you not take medicine?
Huh?
We are prone to the laws of physics.
Okay.
So what does that have to do with your medicine?
So right, what does that have to do with medicine?
Simulation is
chemicals in the brain. Chemistry
irrelevant
is physics.
At that point. Michael W. Robel.
Do you think that? Hold on, before you read that, Dave. Do you think that they're pissed off that we figured out that it's a simulation? Wouldn't they have like a program again to?
Yeah. I get my ass kicked by knowing it every day. This is what I feel like. It's like I don't get any special favors. But moving on, I don't want to be delusional.
Okay.
I said I don't get any special favors.
From who?
What I was asking was, don't you think they would have made us if we're in a simulation?
Well, a mental simulation. I'm not saying we're on a hard drive. I'm saying consciousness hallucinates its own realities.
Right.
Just like,
don't you think they would prevent us from figuring out that we were in a simulation?
Okay.
Only select few can figure it out.
Oh. Okay.
Open-minded.
The elect.
And you think you figured out things that would get you in trouble?
So you're like the Calvinist of simulation theory.
Okay, so you say you won't expose people or governments or things like that, and you know things that other people don't know, but like, are you like an Illuminati person?
I am a Freemason, but I'm not Illuminati.
We are the Illuminati, obviously.
Okay. Illuminati. I'm not that paranoid. I don't think you're the Illuminati.
Not that paranoid.
I'm not Russian Vince paranoid.
Joe, I like you. I don't care how crazy your beliefs are. You seem like it's weird because you seem like a decent guy, and I still can't tell if you're playing us or not.
Are you serious?
That you believe?
I'm not playing. I never said I don't. Viruses don't exist.
Bizarre. Like it's just the things like one of these things it's okay, but to all of these things it's not possible. It's not possible. Maybe we are in a fucking simulation. Maybe this is a way to see how people react
Neo
to
from the Matrix just
what your brain can't handle. I don't think because mine is fucking checked out.
Incredulity is why people can't believe.
Exposed that I was in the Matrix. Like how would you react?
I feel like my weed man is gonna love
himself or what?
Oh yeah. We got a few more. Michael Robel says this is cosmic.
Are there any other super chats, Dave?
Kruger. Roberto Torres says this was one time I pretended there was there was one time I pretended there was no bacteria when I dropped my sandwich. Right. If
5-second rule,
Zero asks
No, the
if
5-second
cancer
rule is
doesn't
not a
exist,
thing.
what exactly
I know
is
it's
the
not.
HELA cell line? Or HELA cell line? HeLa.
That's not my expertise.
Gila.
No.
Gila.
Can you explain that, Joe?
So,
No.
Cookie Nibs.
Hila
Okay.
doesn't know.
Well, I thought the other person would be able to answer it.
Do you want to know what the Gila cell line is?
Sure.
It's a cell line that was developed from tissue taken from cervical cancer from a woman named Henrietta Lacks. And she's part of the reason why we have informed consent and de-identified everything, but it was named after her and taken without her permission, and then the cells were put into culture and propagated until they developed the line.
Ah,
Two more, guys.
that is interesting.
There is actually a movie
Cool.
about it.
What's the name of the
Two
movie?
more.
Yeah.
Does he think
I will
it's
look it up and
possible
let you
that
know.
he has gotten his information from unreliable places?
Okay.
Is there anything he could be shown that would change his mind? Does he have issues with trusting others?
Do I think it's possible?
Okay. So is there anything that you could be shown that would change
I
your
usually
mind?
just do my own conclusion and think to myself.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but I've seen too much. But yeah.
And
He's seen too much,
and
guys.
last,
So have I, Joe.
and last but not
Doing
least,
the show in the past
kind is
5
the
months.
Oh my
I've
god, you're so cute.
I've seen too much. Yeah.
I've seen way too much too.
Too much.
Okay, I put the link to the IMDb for the movie in the chat.
Oh, cool.
Wow. Well,
Also, just so you know, Joe, in the side chat of our Hangout thing here, I put a link to the CDC site that explains how vaccines are made, flu vaccines.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
lucky or little did the audience know tonight, Casey, that they would wind up getting a full episode on Dick News.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, Joe. That was just a joke. I would like to.
Okay, I didn't get it. Yeah, I got it now.
I would like to thank. Thank you for the pity laughs. Thank you. I'll take them.
No, that's funny.
I would like to thank Joe and Peachy Keen. I think that I want to thank you. I think it's because it's the proper thing to do, but I'm not sure with what you did to my mind right now because my brain on the inside is trying to literally shut down every motor function that I have.
I really hope you're not talking about me.
No.
It's not because of the virus, Kyle.
Joe. Yeah, Joe.
Kyle,
I'm
it's
joking.
because you know too much.
Yeah, exactly right. But on a serious note, though, Peachy Keen, it was just Peachy Keen having you on the show to share your knowledge and clearing some things up for us. Joe, I hate that we didn't get to spend as much time as you probably wanted to on the virus thing, but when you make public the extent to which you have a disdain for mainstream concepts, it's hard not to resist kind of going down that trail. And we're going to go dive deeper on the 14th because Joe, you are joining us for that, right?
Is that on a weekend?
That's on a Tuesday.
Tuesday, I think.
Yeah,
The
I'll be
14th. We're going to have Christians against dinosaurs. I guess now you could be atheists against dinosaurs.
Is Truth Hammer going to be there? Is Truth Hammer going to be
yes. Yeah.
No.
there? Okay.
It's on a Tuesday, right? Am I going to be there on a Tuesday? I don't know.
Yeah,
Am
but
I gonna
she can join in if she wants to. Yeah.
We'll see if I can.
Yeah, it's on a regular NonSequitur show date.
Yeah.
But I think it would be good for you to be there because we have a paleontologist coming that
that'd be awesome.
That will answer, you can ask him your questions that, about the fossil record and all that stuff. And he will be able to answer that. It's the Tattoos and Bones, I think is his Twitter handle.
Cool.
But check him out. He will be with us on the 14th. I'm going to turn it back over to you guys reluctantly. Joe, just follow me here. Say your parting words and where people can find more of you and your channel. Try not to reveal any more conspiracies because I need.
Well, they're not conspiracies at all.
Right. My apologies.
That's a trigger word. I had a great time. Truth Hammer, it was nice to meet you.
You too.
And I'd love to do another show with you. And that's all I got. My channel is Virtual Maya. Virtual, and Maya is spelled Maya. I don't know if you know what that means, but
you want to explain it to us?
Oh, Virtual Maya. It's virtual, right? It's like an ancient way of saying it's a virtual reality in a material world.
Oh, okay. That makes total sense.
Maya means the matrix. Maya means the matrix, but it's an old word.
That's pretty clever. Didn't you did you make a response? Did you make a response video to like you? Were you the first person that ever made a response video back to us in January? That was you, wasn't it?
It was for Stephen McRae.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Look how things come for full circle. Wow. That is a conspiracy. Okay.
It's not a conspiracy.
Peachy Keen.
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy.
Illuminati.
Peachy Keen. Thank you for coming on, and I hope that we didn't.
Thanks for the invite.
No, you don't have to do that.
I enjoyed you being on, Peachy.
No, this was a great conversation. Like, these are frustrating, but they're interesting because I think it's good to have these conversations that kind of challenge some things that are thought to be mainstream. To the extent that you do it, Joe, I think is excessive, but we'll work on that. But anyway, go ahead and close us out.
Who?
I said Peachy Keen, if she wanted to say any final words or wrap up any thoughts.
I think all of my thoughts are wrapped up.
All right, cool. Awesome. Well, KC, Truth Hammer, I also enjoyed doing the show with you today as well.
I always love doing our show, Kyle.
Do you have any comforting words for me before we close out?
We'll be on the after show.
Yes. Steve McRae's channel. Get ready for that. You both are invited. We always invite the guests. So, Joe, if you want to stop in the after show, you'll probably be the star of the evening if you want to do that, because I'm sure that people will be lining up to talk to you. But
I'll see if my wife lets me.
Okay. Well, hey, at least you're smart in one area. Happy life. And that, my friends, is a positive note to end on. We will see you. What's today? Thursday. It's
Wednesday.
God. We'll see you tomorrow for Should Drugs Be Decriminalized?
Watch new episodes of NonSequitur at 8 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. Here's what's coming up this week.